is just fantastic.
Captain's Log, Subdates 210125.7. Ensign Spoon has sent word that he has been able to steal a ship, some data, and genetic modification technologies from the Suliban. As he's under attack, we are en route to intercept.
So here's an email from YouTube essentially telling me that I can no longer make money on YouTube. It looks like they had a whole speech planned just for me, but who knows, maybe this could be a carbon copy email of what they send a lot of people who are accused of random things. But unfortunately, after about 14 years on the platform, because of Shiloh following through with her promise to destroy my life, destroy my career, leave me with nothing, here I am with this email.
So that was an interesting piece of video, wasn't it? According to Onision, he no longer is a member of the YouTube Partner Program and is therefore ineligible to receive monetization, which also means memberships for those who think he can. I checked his channels. He does not have it. It means his videos will not get promoted, unless by somebody who is hate-watching and responding to everything he does. I'm looking at Repsion. You're pretty much his biographer at this point. Onision being demonetized has been seen as a good thing by many, but there is some grey area. It's the email he received that is the grey area. But also, some negative, and that comes from also some of those that celebrated this demonetization, because there are a number of alarm bells raised within the email itself, but also how we got to this point where it actually happened. And for this, we have to go and throw some more shade at Chris Hansen. As many of you know, at the end of my Content Constable on Chris Hansen, linked below, it's okay, he sold the Onision story and investigation to Discovery Plus, something which rightly aggravated a lot of those online because no one knew it was his intention, which is why he only passingly mentioned it after selling the investigation in his own videos and streams, where he instead focused on Davi Vanity. Other parts of the documentary that annoyed people would include the fact that he used people who said no, victims of Onision, in the documentary, as told by himself or Shiloh, or they were told incorrectly. The stories were warped for a optics thing. Many YouTubers themselves who were originally a part of the online streams, also many YouTubers like Blair White, rejected being in the investigation documentary, because there's more than one. There's a few, in fact. Now I should take the opportunity, because this is quite the distraction, to briefly mention Edwin Costa, or Edwin's Generation on YouTube, I believe. He was a part of the documentary in part 2, I believe, and he has taken a considerable amount of criticism for his involvement. I'm not going to take a side on this one. If you want to say that you were naive enough to believe in good intentions because you want to be a journalist and you saw the best in them, fine. If you want to believe the DMs that were released that paint a different light, sure. Future Meg here. Upon editing, I had forgotten to include the fact that Edwin had not mentioned to any of the victims he was going to be in the documentary. This has been a sticking and talking point for a number of people. For the sake of it, I do firmly believe that perhaps you should have told them you were going to be in the documentary because you had been conversing with them while also talking to Onision, which I get from a journalistic stance, but transparency and all that. When I made my Content Constable on Chris Hansen, I made my view quite clear. The moment he sold the investigation, the intentions were quite obvious, and his were clearly shady. If you actually believed anyone involved was going to treat you as an equal or with any respect, you are a moron. And it probably is for the best you keep your tweets protected for the time being. Lick your wounds or play victim, I don't care which. As I said, I really don't care about this. And it is a massive distraction from Onision. So to get back on track, we should probably look at the email that has me a little bit, irked. Hi, James. Responsibility is our #1 priority at YouTube, and it is important for us to ensure that creators are empowered to use their influence responsibly in the YouTube community and beyond. With that in mind, we recently reviewed your channels, and took action on content that violated our community guidelines. Did you either remove it or give him community guideline strikes? As I didn't hear anything about the latter, I assume the former was what you did. We are also concerned about continued allegations of off-platform behavior related to child safety that could cause significant harm to the community, violating our creator responsibility guidelines within our YouTube Partner Program policies. Now this part's quite concerning to me because it is something Twitch does when they changed their TOS a few years ago. If you do something on another platform that reflects badly on them or makes you look bad enough that they have to act to protect themselves, they will suspend and or yeet you. Let's not forget here, Twitch don't have a system for appealing unless you've got big boobs. So YouTube taking this kind of stance is a concern for many creators, but there are questions and we'll get to them after this. These guidelines explain that we don't allow egregious behavior that has a large negative impact on the community. Wow, you actually take an interest in us for once. One of those questions will be about that. Additionally, this means you should be respectful of your viewers, your fellow creators, and our advertisers. You've got the order wrong. It should be advertisers first and viewers last, both on and off YouTube, and now in bold because this has to be driven home. Therefore, we have determined that your channels will be indefinitely suspended from the YouTube Partner Program and no longer eligible to monetize. That came into effect on January the 20th and was why Onision made that video. Obviously, he played the clip with the email in it, along with references to a video and websites with evidence against Shiloh. Many have opinions with regards to Shiloh. I'm not interested. I'm really not. If you want content with regards to Shiloh, I would in fact recommend watching Edwin Costa, or Edwin's Generation, I believe is the channel name. He has many criticisms about Shiloh, and you can argue if they're legitimate or not. I don't care enough. Because as I said, my attention is on this email, because this does raise a few questions. The most notable of which is, what caused YouTube, after 10 years, to finally act? To finally do something about Onision that many people have dubbed this to be a moderately positive thing? Well, it was that Discovery Plus documentary. Yes, many creators for years have complained to YouTube because of Onision. There are tweets all over the place, straight up at Susan Wojcicki. There are videos in the millions of views, all aimed at getting Onision yeeted or doing something about him. Now obviously I don't support deplatforming him at all. I will always stand by that. I also don't think it's right to demonetize him, to be honest. But that's just me. I think everyone has the right to be monetized. The fact you put the advertisers in there when it comes to being respectful, yeah, that told me everything I needed to know, really. It took a poorly executed series of documentaries against Onision for YouTube to take notice and do something because it made them look bad. Is it not bad enough that we commentary YouTubers especially took shots from Handsome because he got to throw some slide digs at us, Edwin being the more notable of which, when we were criticizing him? Obviously I haven't featured and I wouldn't expect to. I am a literal nobody. But those who have their face on their channel can expect him to throw more shade at you if you have in any way criticized him. He after all does have to have the last word and most of us are blocked. The fact YouTube acted on this because of those documentaries and considering how utterly destroyed they were, especially by the very community Hansen has been shooting on, shows you how little YouTube pays attention. They don't pay attention to what happens in their yard until it's in the mainstream. It's why they didn't act to demonetize Shane Dawson until it got a bit more mainstream publicity from the Smith family. If anyone hasn't noticed before, YouTube only act when things go mainstream, or in some way can be regarded as mainstream. The email is alarming because while YouTube do reference guidelines and terms of service, the fact they've acted like this and in this way does raise concerns for those who may get a carbon copy of this very template email in the future. So might I recommend, unless you want to be cancelled, don't use the dreaded R word, the A word, the N and the F and any other profanity people take considerable issue with. At this point, I'm half tempted to make up a new profanity for everyone. I mean, moron's an obvious one, but something a little more unique. As we're done, I'd like to know what you all think about this. Again, I find the email to be quite concerning, and I don't care about the Hansen documentary or the involvement of others. Argue over that all you like. My only interest is in this email and the precedent it sets. So do let me know in the comments down below. As a final thing, I'm going to stream on Twitch tonight. If I don't see you there, have a great day and thank you all for listening.